Everyone got the package, right?
Yes.
These are the town hall budgets. They're pretty benign. I wouldn't say the changes here are uncontrollable because they're not, but everything's controllable to a point. But a lot of it is either contractual or, in the case of elections, if we have extra elections, it costs more. There's like not a lot we can do about that. So Kevin, you want to, Mr. Chair, will give Kevin give a brief overview, and then we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have him just run through all the budgets, right?
Sure. And welcome, Zach. Zach, you can ask any questions you want. It's usually good not to agree with Evan on anything.
That's correct.
Duly noted. I'll take that.
And Kevin will go through these in numerical order of how we set them up in our system. So we can go budget by budget and ask questions. Evan, either you or somebody else or a memo will suffice. We'll need to present your opinion on these budgets at the town council meeting on Monday, the 10th.
At what time?
Monday, the 10th at 7 p.m.
Oh, okay, fine.
So
I can do that.
okay,
I mean,
perfect.
these are, I'll never mind. I'll wait for the discussion points. These are just generally pretty benign budgets.
Okay, Kevin, you ready?
Yeah, before we start, Evan, I just had a question. How do you want to handle Monday night with the town council? Usually I do similar to what I'm going to do today, go budget by budget. Do you want to do it individually, or do you want to do just like an overview?
Honestly, Kevin, I would, and I'll defer to however the council wants it, or if you guys have a different interest, but I would just, like, these budgets, if they're kind of straightforward, I would just if the ones that are straightforward, I just kind of snap through them, and then where there are peculiarities or like stuff that's really actually worth discussing that isn't what they're used to seeing every year in these departments, then I'd spend more time elaborating on that. Other than that, it's like, I don't think you have to go like line item by line item. I'm like,
Yeah.
here is, another budget that is essentially, level funded except for contractual increases.
Right.
You know?
Okay. Just a real quick overview. 12 budgets here today. There is one budget in particular, the election expense budget. In the current year, we have one scheduled election. Next year, we're going to have 3. So that's what drove a big increase of a little over $25,000 to that increase. You take that increase out, the overall percentage increase for the 12 budgets or the 11 budgets would be 2.3%. So starting off with the first budget, the accounting budget, we're recommending an increase of $19,390 over the current year. This breaks down $18,397 going to the tax levy, $993 going to a water and sewer transfer. The majority of the increase, $16,390, is in personal services for negotiated and contractual increases. There is a $3,000 increase under the contractual services, professional services line item, and that's for the town's yearly audit. Main expenses within this budget, equipment rental. We have in town hall and in the treasury department, we have 7 copy machines, 2 high-speed printers. They all come together on one bill, so we decided we could just put all that money in the accounting budget, and I pay it accordingly. We have $60,000 in the professional services line item, which is for the town audit. We use a company called Powers and Sullivan. They're a local company here in Wakefield. They were originally from Woburn. We think Steve and I think they do a great job for us. Total budget request for fiscal 23 is $463,099, with $441,395 coming from tax levy and $21,704 coming from a water and sewer transfer. Should I wait for questions, or Evan, or should I just keep rolling, or you mute?
You're muted.
I'm assuming we,
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Speak up at will, guys, of course.
I don't have any questions on this budget. I just,
Okay,
I'm good.
Zach, John,
Okay, Kevin.
John, you all set? Okay. Next budget is the legal budget. We're recommending an increase to this budget of $3,612 over the current year. Again, this is all in personal services and is for a negotiated salary increase. We level funded the expense side. The major expenses here are outside professional services, $60,000, which is used mainly for labor attorneys or other expert services as needed. In the past, we have gone out, we've had to hire an environmental engineer for some contaminated lawsuits that we had to deal with. Also, under the books and publication line item, $6,200, which is to use for the town's legal library. That's to upkeep that. Total budget request is $194,797.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
yes. So I just want to clarify. So I think in the prior information, we had said that the legal damages budget was overspent, but I'm assuming that might have been a misstatement and we were referring to the contractual services. It looks like that is that we budgeted for FY for this fiscal year, 60, and it looks like we're almost double that, right?
Right.
And is that for additional costs for attorneys?
Correct.
Okay.
Right at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we did
Yep.
settle a lawsuit with the Walt School. We did have to pay for expert witnesses,
Yeah.
and that they were quite expensive, and those payments came out of this year's budget. And there was something under legal damages, but that was transferred over to the sewer department because it was a
Okay.
sewer backup.
Okay. That was I think that was my only question. Thank you.
Kevin, you had some ongoing litigation last year, right? That was costing us a bunch of money. I think it was last year. I just forget what it was. Is that settled?
Butler
Was
Ave.
it the Walton thing you were just talking about, or was it?
No, we
forget what it
also
was.
had, we also had Butler Ave. And then this year, we also had an issue over on Water Street. There was a piece of property that was causing some problems that we spent some money on.
I forget which one I'm thinking of, but anybody else?
Nope.
Hey, go ahead, Kevin.
Next budget. Tax collector's budget. We're requesting an increase of $7,665. This breaks down $5,299 to the tax levy, $2,366 to a water and sewer transfer. This is all in personal services and is for contractual negotiated increases. The expense side is level funded. Main expenses here, $5,200 for printing and binding, which is used to print the preliminary and actual tax bills. $3,750 for professional services, which is used for instruments of taking when we do the tax title process. And the big one here is $32,500 for postage, and that is used to mail the tax bills. Total budget request $297,475, with $236,632 coming from tax levy and $60,843 coming from a water and sewer transfer.
Go ahead.
Yes, so on the contractual services, I know we don't like we're not going to penalize departments for not using funds. We certainly don't want to introduce that, but we also look for trends. I'm looking at the travel inside the Commonwealth. And I believe we talked about this last year, I just don't recall. I'm looking at the last 3 fiscal years and the spending has been less than $200. One year was $30. This year we haven't halfway through the fiscal year spent any money, but we're still allotting $1,500. It's a small amount of money, so I don't care that much about it. But again, I'm thinking from the perspective of trends.
Yep.
I don't recall why are we budgeting for travel expenses for this department? What is it for?
There are seminars that they put on that the tax collector and the people in her department would go to. I think with COVID the past couple of years,
Yep.
it's basically wiped everything out.
No.
No travel at all.
But it's a line item we certainly probably should keep in case, obviously, hopefully when we get over this.
Right,
Okay.
and in certain departments, as employees become more experienced, they don't need as much training, but as the newer ones come on, you do want to send them out to get certain training, and that's where some of the money would come from also,
Okay,
or would be paid out of.
thank you.
Is my connection okay, by the way? Can you hear me clearly?
It's freezing up a little bit, but not too bad.
All right. I might relocate, but Zach, by the way, I just want to tell you as like, feel free to jump in, on Kevin at any point if you have like any questions you want to ask, because I'm like kind of breezing through it just because we're used to it, and these are some of our like less complicated budgets. But feel free, don't there are no dumb questions, so feel free to chime in.
No, thank you very much. I reviewed most of these budgets previous, a week or two ago when they were initially sent. So they seem fine to me. So no questions so far.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. All right, just want to make sure you knew you were invited to do that. All right, go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
Okay, next budget is the assessor's budget. Requesting that this budget be increased $14,129. There is an increase in personal services, $6,729, which is for contractual and negotiated increases. There's also an increase on the contractual services in the professional services line item, $7,400. The reason for the $7,400 increase, the Department of Revenue is now requiring that each utility for the town has a yearly written appraisal. So we have some big ticket items here. The big one being National Grid's new pipeline that they're putting in. So Victor, our town assessor, is really comfortable with this increase. He'll be using an outside company to come in and help him value those utility companies. Main expenses within this budget, the professional services line item, like I said, 17,400 is the total. Used for outside appraisal services, personal property services, and expert witnesses as needed for ATV cases. Total budget request is $253,448.
No questions.
So Kevin, one of the things, I look at is contractual services. So we're halfway through the year, but contractual services, we've only spent 5,000 out of the 29,000.
Right.
Is that right? So actually 5,000 out of the 22,000, right?
Yep.
So is the expectation that we're going to have additional expenses? And then there's a jump for next year?
Yeah, I have talked to Victor about that there is some work that's being done right now with some attorneys for the Victor is hired with the Verizon case that he's working on, that he may be spending some of that money. It's good to have the money there. It usually is pretty much spent. So I know coming in the second half of the year, we'll be spending more of that money than what's in that, what's been spent to date.
Evan, if I might add on this one, there is a possibility here. I'm working with another community that may be looking to become part of our assessing family, which would lower our budget a little bit. So we may revisit this one.
You know me, I love some regionalization where it makes sense. So
We're already regionalized with Reading on this, and another, let's say a smaller community towards our, towards our east and northeast may be interested.
I'd have to look at a map, to be honest with you. I'm a millennial, I use GPS.
I'm just afraid.
But that's
Victor will
great.
be up at Market Street too much doing assessing.
Oh, I see. I get it
So
now.
that may come to fruition, which would, spread the wealth a little bit and save us money here and on benefits too. So just you have a You're the first ones to hear it, so don't spread it around.
Cool. All right, go ahead, Kevin.
All set?
we-
Town clerk,
We're gonna assess all the properties along the bike path. Is that what we're gonna do?
That too. All those values go up.
next budget is the town clerk's budget. We're recommending an increase of $10,007. This all is in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. We'll note that the town clerk position does follow the supervisory scale. The expense portion of the budget is level funded. Major expenses within this budget, there was a printing and binding line item, $14,000. Used to print town bylaws, code books, dog licenses. We also use this to bind old birth and death certificates, marriage certificates, just to keep them, because we have to keep them as permanent records. The total budget request of the town clerk is for 2023 is $247,946. I do want to point out one thing, that this town department does collect revenue. They historically bring in about $70,000.
You said 70 or 7?
70.
Okay.
So, and we have the same question here, right? The 4,600 of contractual services and for the first half against
Yep.
22,400, so.
Yeah, that's mainly to do some of the professional services line item, the printing. You'll see that coming in the second half of the year.
So most of these changes that we'll see are just based on seasonality, would you say?
Yeah, sometimes with the town clerk's office, the professional services, if there's an election coming up, where we only had one scheduled one this year, and that's in the second half of the year, some of the expenses won't hit the budget till later. Under the printing and binding, the town clerk sometimes holds off on binding those old certificates, the birth and death certificates,
Mhm.
until later in the year,
Very
trying to
good.
figure out how much money she does have available, to figure out how many she can do at once.
Perfect. Yeah, that works. Thank you.
What's that?
Yes.
Next budget is the election and registration budget. We're recommending level funding. Main expenses here under personal services, 17,100 is for the census workers. Under contractual services, there's a professional services line item, $10,000. We use an outside firm, LHS. They come in, they help us with the census mailing, the printing of the ballots, and the maintenance on the voting machines. Under postage, $6,500 used for absentee ballots. And the total budget request is $37,700. No questions?
Nope.
Moving on. Election expense, requesting an increase to this budget of $25,850 over the current year. This increase is based on 2 additional elections in fiscal '23. In the current year, we only had budgeted the town election, which is in April. In fiscal '23, we have the state primary, the state election, and the town election. The average cost of an election is $12,925. The main expenses here are the election workers. They cost $19,875 for fiscal '23. Advertising, $9,000, and Kira booths, $9,900. Total budget request is $38,775.
Questions?
So on this one, right, we've got 3 elections coming up in the next couple of months, right? So-
Yes. Well, we will be spending this, and we'll probably be looking for a little bit of reserve fund transfer, because we only have one budgeted scheduled in this budget, in the current year's budget. 2 of them are special elections. One to fill the councilor's seat, and the other one for the vocational school.
But the vocational school will pay for their election. They'll
Okay,
reimburse the towns for that election.
okay, so there'll be just one that we have.
So we could have one extra we will be looking probably for reserve fund transfer because of the special election.
They're doing a special election for the, what is it, debt exclusion on the vote?
It's not a debt exclusion. It's it's not necessarily a debt exclusion. It's to approve the project because under the vocational school enabling statute, if each community, if there's 12 communities in this, in the Northeast metropolitan region, if all 12 do not vote to fund the project, any one can force it to a general election. And so each community will vote, but it is the total vote of all the communities. So you don't have to win each community or win, you know, or win by a majority of the communities. It's just the total vote of all the communities.
Okay.
And
That's why it's
that's-
special, because it's like 12 different towns and they all have different election
Right.
schedules. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's really a very strange statute where the hours of the election are set by the vocational school committee. They can be no less than 4 hours, no more than, I think, 7 on the
What?
day of the election. Yeah, it's really wild. Yeah, it's
And they're the weirdest hours. I think it's between like 1 and 4 p.m. I think I was seeing.
or 11 and 6. I
11
think
to
it's
11 and
11 to 4.
Yeah.
While
It's
people at
asinine.
work, while people
Well,
at work,
everyone's at work.
that's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
ludicrous.
So,
What? All right, whatever. Wow.
so Steve, my understanding is if it doesn't pass, then the project is off and they go back to the beginning and they have to go through the whole
Yeah,
mass board and everything again?
they will. And actually, they're getting a very high percentage rate right now. I think it's 79% of allowable costs or something like that. And that was based on an agreement that they set with the SBA. It was actually Bob DeLeo pushed it through for them. So if it doesn't go through at this election, we'll be back to maybe a lower reimbursement rate.
Hmm.
How many kids do we have in the Voc? From Wakefield?
It's over 100, right? Usually over a little.
About
over
108, 110?
Yeah, it's jumped up over the past few years. And rightly
But
so.
we have some on the waiting list too, don't we, Steve?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Hey, I'm
They
a
have
huge
about 400 total students on the waiting list. So. But it's a shame because it passed so big in Wakefield. It was Chelsea and Saugus that voted it down.
And Saugus is looking for a debt exclusion for this, right?
They may be. I don't
Right.
think they need to, personally. That's not how I would do it. I would just add to that budget gradually over the next few years, and you'd be fine.
Yeah, I think that's why it lost, because they were looking for a debt exclusion.
Yeah, I think they threatened that, but I don't think they needed to. But not my problem. I have enough of my own.
I thought you were on the board.
I am on the advisory board, but look, I can't resolve what Saugus does.
All right, anybody else?
Oh,
Go
good.
ahead, Kevin. Sorry for that tangent.
Oh, no problem. Next budget, Finance Committee, their budget, requesting level funding. Main expenses here is one big line item, dues and memberships, $3,400, and this is for the dues and membership portion for the MMA for the Finance Committee. Total budget request is $7,060.
What are we doing with I mean, it's chicken stuff, but what are we doing with the contractual services?
There is $2,800 in there to print the recommendation book. Historically, we used to go outside for that. Now it's being done in-house. And Steve's budget, I think, is bearing the brunt of that it hasn't been transferred over to the Finance Committee.
Hmm.
I just wonder if we need that $3,000. That's all. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I think I cut you
All
off.
set?
No, I didn't have anything. I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's all I had. There's nobody else.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin.
Next budget is the Conservation Commission budget. Recommending that this budget be increased to $1,013. This increase is all in personal services and is for contractual and negotiated increases. This department consists of 2 people, each working 10 hours per week. Main expenses here, $1,000 for travel, $1,000 for office supplies. We do offset this budget with filing fees that the department charges to applicants. The offset there is $4,500. The total budget request for fiscal '23 is $49,385, with $44,885 coming from the tax levy and $4,500 coming from the available funds.
Questions?
Nope.
No.
Uh,
The wetland filing fees, who did that go to? Does that go to Division of Resources on the state level or what?
No, that's collected by our Conservation Commission.
Oh, okay, that's revenue that we get.
We
Got
get it into the town and then we use it to offset their budget.
Yeah, so it goes
Right.
49 to less 4,500 to 44,000.
Right.
However, Don, you are right. There is a separate fee that does get paid to the state as well. But we're just a pass through. We don't do anything with it.
All right, Kevin.
All set. Next budget is the planning board budget. We're requesting level funding. To get the level funding, we did move some money around here. We reduced advertising, printing and binding, postage, travel, and office supplies. We put some money, about $4,400 into the books and publications line item. Erin Kakinda, the town's community and economic development director, she uses a subscription to CoStar Realty, which is an electronic database that it helps her track commercial property here in Wakefield, also within the state and in the region. Just gives her the information that she needs to do her job. We also do collect some revenue from this department. Current year to date, we're almost at $6,000. Last year, we collected over $10,000. Total budget request is $12,975. I do want to point out that maybe on the budgets that you guys received, this did show as an increase to this budget of about $140, but it was level funded, that there is a new budget out there showing the amount that was requested is level funded from last year at the $12,925. 975, I'm sorry.
Kevin, you said there's revenue that offsets this budget?
It doesn't offset, but this is a revenue producing budget that they do bring in some revenue during the course of the year. And it's on or about what their budget is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Is it
So,
general
and
fund
Kevin,
revenue?
is this,
Sorry, go ahead.
is this one of those situations where the clerk that gets a stipend is also a town employee, or just somebody that just does this and gets the stipend?
The person that does this is a town employee, the clerk, that she does this over and above her clerk job. They usually have these meetings at night.
I just want to turn back again briefly to the books and publications piece. So you said that it's for this CoStar Realty subscription. So is this significant increase in that budget item associated just with the subscription cost for that service? Or are there other books and publications that the department needs to use? I'm just trying to figure out why we go from 300 to, looks like we're requesting almost $5,000. So
Right.
how do we get there? I recognize there's additional costs because it's CoStar Realty, but it's significant too.
Yeah, the CoStar Realty is $395 a month, 300.
Oh, okay.
So it is.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole books and subscription is that one item.
Okay. All right. That does it then. Thank you.
It's crazy.
Has she found success with that program, with that subscription?
She says it is very helpful. But as with everything, she said she will review this at the end of the year to see, if she's finding it valuable enough or if there's other options out there that she can use that would reduce the cost.
I just wonder if it works, great. If you're generating leads that way, that's great.
I think it helps in that sense. It's also going to help in some of the planning going on, the long range planning that's going on for the master plan. So
Master plan. My favorite thing. All right, great. Anybody else?
Next budget, Board of Appeals, we're recommending level funding. Main expenses here out of this budget is the cost of their meetings, the cost of advertising, the clerks, the board, the chairman of the board, of their board, and board members do get paid a small stipend. We charge approximately $550 per hearing. We project out 50 hearings for the year. Historically, this budget usually pays for itself with revenue collected from fees. In fiscal 21, we did collect over $66,000 in revenue. We did have one big applicant that came in and filed with them, which was the Head of the Lake project. So far, year to date this year, we're almost $7,600. The total budget request for fiscal 23 is $27,800.
Questions?
Nope.
Keep it rolling.
Last budget, Council on Aging. We're recommending that this budget be reduced $13,020. This reduction is all in the personal services line item and is due to a retirement. There are contractually negotiated increases within that reduction. The expense portion of the budget is level funded. The total budget request, $247,300.
What's going on with material supplies?
Materials and supplies.
We're looking at Council on Aging, right?
Materials and supplies, probably the oil and additives, that's the gas for the senior vans. They were starting to see an uptick in the amount of use for the van, the senior van, until the Omicron reared its ugly head. Now it's it's gone back down. So that's basically the gas for the senior van, which we anticipate will come back in fiscal 23.
Okay. So did they spend close to that in 19? I don't have 19 spend numbers.
Yeah, they were quite busy.
Does that mean they spent close to that?
Uh, Right now, it isn't being used as much as,
Well, I understand that because of the virus. I get that.
and Judy Luciano, the director up there, she's basically been driving the van, so they haven't been using the van drivers line item that much either. But we anticipate that. She was ready to bring on the 3 part-time drivers. But with the uptick in the corona, that she stopped that.
But she's not paying the drivers out of materials and supplies, right?
No, she's been paying that. That comes out of personal services. But the use for the gas is down.
Okay.
So
And gas prices are up in fairness, right? So maybe 19 doesn't matter if, the gas prices are 2x what they were or whatever.
Right.
All right, I won't pick on you anymore, Kevin.
That service was very popular when we
Good.
started.
Good. Anybody else? I'm sorry, I monopolized there.
No.
Good.
All right. Any other comments in general?
We're gonna send you the next batch out probably tomorrow,
Okay.
which will be heard by the town council on the 24th. So, excuse me. We would need a meeting maybe sometime the week of the 17th.
Okay.
And then
Alright.
you're stuck with me at that meeting because Kevin's away. So,
That sucks.
yep. Thank you for the vote of confidence. That's okay.
Oh, I have a ton of confidence in you. I just wish you'd cut your budget sometimes, but whatever. Um,
My
I'm just-
budget won't be on there, and I'm gonna guarantee you mine will not be cut.
Yeah, I know. Zach, for some context, every year, and I didn't do it to him this year, and I didn't have too much of a reason to yet, but I always, Steve and I needle each other about a difference of opinion. His certainly, and also I joke with him, but his has merit. But in general, and correct me if I'm wrong in the way I explain this, Steve, but for, these part 2 line items, generally the practice of Steve and Kevin has been to say to department heads, if you don't spend, close to your appropriation, you didn't spend all of your appropriation in a given line item, we're not going to punish you by cutting it, because the reflexive reaction can be, and I'm sure this is a concept that's universal, whether it's public or private sector. If they feel the threat that that's coming, they're just going to find a way to spend it, right?
Oh,
We don't-
yeah. I was just gonna say, they're gonna spend the money regardless.
So I think there's a middle ground, but so that's why I'm needling Steve.
Well, I think like Therese said, we do look for trends, and there's probably a couple of trends that have been trending that we need to look at too.
Cool,
Maybe
good.
in the
good.
next, maybe this, maybe next round, but the trend's not gonna be a lot, right? It's gonna be $3,000 here, a couple grand there.
Sure.
It's not gonna.
Dollars and cents. Yeah.
you know.
Sure. If I see one that I think is a lot, I'll speak up. So
I hope that you do.
no, you don't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So I'm in my 3rd year now, so it looks like, that I've come around to Steve's point. It seems like every year we revert this back and, we don't have folks spending to just spend, so.
I agree. Yeah.
Don, I'm like a slow drip on you, right? Just keeps-
So, all right. Anybody else?
How do we feel about the 20th as a meeting? 4 o'clock on the 20th. Does that work for people?
Yes, for me.
It can be a little bit of a sketchy time for me, but I made it work today. So let's plan on it. I'm sure I can figure out how to do it.
That works for me.
Works for Zach, Don, good for you?
4 o'clock on the 20th? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good. All right, I'll hear a motion to adjourn then, if that's all.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Sign
Aye.
off. Thanks,
See you
guys.
all.
Good
Take
job.
care, guys. Have a great weekend.